This Week in Drag Racing with your host, Don O'Neill.
My name's Don O'Neill, and welcome to This Week in Drag Racing, where we're going to talk about the stars, the cars, and the passion, the backstories, everything that's involved with getting from A to B on the racetrack that also includes A to Z throughout the week. You're going to get in-depth, behind-the-scenes conversations out of individuals that are just like you, at home, on your laptop, on your phone, mobile device, wherever you are in the world. If you like horsepower, if you like fast cars, if you like just interesting people, this is the show for you. Stay tuned. Coming in this week, our special guest, of course, it's a pilot, and this guy probably got his pilot's license riding wheelies on the back of a top dragster all over the country early on in his career, but now he's a pilot of anything that's got doors, whether it's turbos, blowers, superchargers, it doesn't matter. Craig Sullivan, Indiana's own, joining us this week, fresh off of a number 2 finish in the world. And for us to have a new show for This Week in Drag Racing, I couldn't think of anybody else that's got a more diverse background or character to come in and join us as we spread the message of drag racing in the world as we want to grow. Craig Sullivan, thanks for coming in. How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good, pretty good. I really appreciate you bringing me on, Don. It's a pleasure.
Well, the pleasure's all mine because to grow up around the sport of drag racing, and even though we're a few years apart, I've seen you climb from vehicle to vehicle as you have just continued to move your resume, the number of lines that you continue to put on it, whether it was top dragster car, super stock Mustang, into the world of Pro Mod, and then you dove off into radio versus the world. And I mean, from that aspect, going along with our premise of the show of being able to let people know that you can start out at your local track on a Friday or Saturday night, and the next thing you know, you're going 370s at over 210 miles an hour in a Pro Mod car. I mean, who else better to come in and tell the story than yourself?
I don't know. There's a lot of guys out there. I've been very fortunate to do what we do, and very lucky as well. But it's all in what you set your mind to.
Well, that is true. So let's talk about mindset. It's 2021. We're out here, drag racing show. Most people that are tuning in are probably social media savvy, and they've been seeing the 8mm grainy photos that have been rolling out of Craig Sullivan Motorsports and your partner in crime, Larry Jeffers shot. Tell us about what you got going on to replace the good old barn find, or the barn burner, if you will, going into 2021.
Well, I've drove Larry's bus for about a year and a half, where we've been pretty good friends for a while, and he's been on me that I need to build a new car. He's in 2019 he updated that car for me, and it's been a very good piece for us. But I kind of got with him and told him what I wanted to do, and he had a concern about a body, and we're building a 49 Mercury. I found a gentleman that built 49 Mercury kit cars, and I bought a body from him, and I cut it up the way I wanted it, and took it to Larry, and we turned it into a buck, and Larry can now produce carbon fiber 49 Mercuries, and it's going to be a very different piece.
Well, again, motorsports history, a little bit of a buff. When it comes to the word Mercury, Animal Jim comes to mind, and then from my real younger days of Pro Mod, Johnny Rocca and Iron Horse. And so when you talk about Larry being able to produce bodies, I mean, Johnny's was like a one-off, right? So now we got another one-off out of Jeffers and Sullivan. I mean, when you sat back and you started the plan, and you're a business guy, did you really go, I think I'll probably sell 3 or 4 of these? I mean, we're not talking about Corvettes and Camaros here. We're talking about a Mercury, a 49 Mercury.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Larry wanted to do something different to stay in front of the social media thing. You know, if you go to one of his competitors, you're more than likely going to end up with a Camaro of some kind or a Mustang of some kind. And, you know, he's always prided himself on being different. He's had the bus for years. He had started a fire truck as a pro mod that he's not finished. And, you know, you've known me for a long time, all of my vehicles are very different. You know, even my dragsters were never just a dragster. You know, I got a lot of sweat equity in it myself because I cut the body up the way I wanted it cut. And Larry's into it pretty deep as far as building the buck. You know, typically to do a buck, Larry told me he's about 85,000 in on it. And yeah, it's a pretty expensive investment. But, you know, if you're only going to build one more car in your life, like this car is the last car that I'll build new as far as me building a pro mod, I wanted it to be what I wanted. And, you know, it's going to be pretty cool.
Well, and when you go into that, right, so, you know, it's the old argument that everybody's involved. Are we a professional sport, or are we in the entertainment business? And me, I always look, drag racing, we have fans, right? And we have fans in football and basketball and baseball and hockey and all the other stick and ball sports. And so those are professional leagues. And the owners figure out about the entertainment factor. But for us as drivers or racers or team owners, the entertainment factor is pretty high up on the list. I mean, we want to perform, but I mean, if you don't like set the world on fire, but you're cool and people are coming over buying your t-shirts or getting your own vehicle in a door slammers game that people are downloading all across the country, that helps on the business side of the entertainment factor.
Oh, I agree. You know, Todd Tuttero's been racing pro mods longer than anybody, and I'm never going to be the equal to a Todd Tuttero. And you know, he's done some great things. So I got to look at, I'm going to win a race or two, but how can I be bigger in the business? And if you go back to the Jimmy Spencer NASCAR days, you either got to win or you got to be on TV. So you cause the big wreck. Well, I'm causing the big wreck in the pit area because with the notoriety from door slammers and what we do with the kids and the adults on it and our t-shirt sales, you know, there's a lot of revenue there. And that's been something that a lot of guys in purchasing the barn burner from me, they don't get is, you know, this revenue stream that comes in. You know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were in Bradenton and there's 29 pro mods there and we qualified 13th in the fastest pro mod field ever. And guys like Ricky Smith didn't qualify. So you really got to take a look at what's going on. You can make those big races and you can sell, you know, 400 t-shirts. That's a pretty good day at the racetrack.
That absolutely is. And putting that whole package together, right? It's on the, you know, nobody ever understands really when we're talking about racing and motorsports and NASCAR and drag racing and F1 and IRL and whatever the case is, right? It all takes money, but it also takes people to make it happen. And there's got to be a backstory. There has to be some entertainment factor to it. There has to be people that relate to you or what you're driving to know that they want to continue to follow you and create a fan base. And having something like door slammers and then looking ahead now, a 49 Merc, I mean, that's a car that there's a lot of people out there that their grandparents or their parents had a car like that. And they got pictures somewhere in a photo album that they grew up with somebody in the family that had a 49 Merc. That's going to get you some right to the top of notoriety that's going to move forward. So I guess we can be safe to say that the 49 Merc will be in Door Slammers later on this year.
Oh yeah, yeah. They've been in a hurry for the car to be scanned. With the body being shaped so much differently than any other car, Kryptonite Customs will be wrapping the car just as they did the barn burner. But they want the car there so they can produce something as good or better than what they did with barn burner. The 49 Mercury, we've had some guys going, that thing's going to catch too much air. It'll never be fast. Well, it's shaped like a bullet. You look at the front of it and you look at the bullet train, and when we get to the rear wing and it's 2 inches lower than a brand new Mustang's wing on a Pro Mod, there's a lot of benefits there. Now, I will tell you that it's 10 inches wider than a 69 Camaro at the rocker. But there's always pluses and minuses. I'll take the 400 T-shirt sales at every race and take that 10-inch wider rocker.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as a kid with my dad, I grew up during the time of, match racing with 55 Chevys and 57 Chevys and the United States Super Circuit. And those guys at that time, it was cool to be number one, right? Be Bill Coolman and go 200 miles an hour, or be Mike Ashley and go 211. But to be Scotty Cannon cool, or Charlie Carpenter cool, or Rob Vandergrift cool, and selling those T-shirts because you're driving a box, you're driving a 41 wheelies or a 40 wheelies with a wing on the back that's 15 feet tall. I mean, it is what it is. You got to be an entertainer. And again, I'm with you. I take 400 T-shirt sales over qualifying number one. I'm cool with that. And I don't really know many people out there that, quite honestly, wouldn't agree with us.
Yeah.
Well,
side has been a very good piece. Ron Hand, that owns it, has worked closely with us, and we've helped him with some of his business development as well. But this last year at Memphis, I had two brothers walk up to me that might have been 10 and 13, and they both got their phones out. The older brother says, "Hey, my brother wants to buy a T-shirt for your car." And I go, "Well, you got phones?" I said, "Do you guys play Door Slammers?" "Yeah." I go, "Do you own this car?" "No." I said, "Well, if you own the car and you show me on your phone that you own it, I give you a T-shirt." "You're not lying to us, are you?" And I go, "No." I said, you buy my car and show me that you own it, and I'll give you a T-shirt. Well, they come back about an hour and a half later and going, "Hey, we own your car." And I go, "So Mom and Dad buy those?" "No, we raced to get it. We actually went and started racing our other cars and won money or won gold so we could buy your car." So I loaded them up. They got T-shirts and they got blower belts and spark plugs. Well, come Monday morning, we sold another 30 T-shirts because them kids wore their T-shirts into school and everybody had to have one. So they banged the website and bought T-shirts. So it's all about driving that business and planting the seed.
Well, and I totally am on board with that because in order, not shocking news to anyone, but you and I are not spring chickens, right? And so our sport, in order for it to continue, we need the next generation and the next 2 generations. And honestly, we really need the next 3 generations to come into our sport and continue on with the passion of going fast and hot rodding cars and doing things with their family members or their loved ones or significant others as they move forward. And, we're talking 10, 13-year-old kids. We're talking prime junior dragster, right? That's our drag racing core right there at that age group. But no matter what, they can continue to chase, follow, attend, poke mom and dad, say, "Hey, we got to go to the racetrack. So-and-so's coming." That's what's got to be done. And it's what I hope that the whole foundation of this show is to get out there and live stream and YouTube and let moms and dads and young people understand that it's worth it, right? It's hard work, right? I mean, I'm not telling you how many, not to say anything, but I mean, you tore up some stuff in 2020 chasing a world championship on the NMCA side.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we run on about a $300,000 a year budget, and that pays for help. I mean, I've got Tommy Radloff, a great engine builder that works for me full time. I've got Andy Smith at Pro Tree Race Cars that flies in. I've got Joe Oplowski that flies in. I got Darren Mayer. I've got Mark Menser. I mean, there's a lot of money to spend to be competitive. And, in the top dragster days, you get somebody new come in and they struggle a couple races, and you go, hey, you need to go talk to Marco Abruzzi, and you need this converter, you need this transmission. And, all of a sudden they had a piece that they could be competitive. Well, in Pro Mod, it don't work that way. So coming in, this is our 6th year that we've run Pro Mod, and we've done very well for what we've got.
Well, again, going back into your history to start, I mean, you grew. We watched you grow. I think I watched you grow as you moved through the top dragster ranks, and you played in the super stock ranks, and you just continued, right? You were always trying to get a little better, a little faster, a little quicker, do something a little different, with the nitrous Ford motors and doing wheelies and doing everything back then, long before this Pro Charger craze, if you will, that's going on in top dragster. You were always doing something to better yourself and the people that were involved with you. And now that you're at the Pro Mod level, we all step back that are, in those classes and have watched you move. You're doing something in the NMCA area that, people say, well, how does that measure up? Have you ever sat back, like you said, you're 6 years in. Have you thought about the fact of, you've made the statement, this is probably the last car I'm going to ever build. Have you thought about the fact of where you're going, or is this a Sullivan Motorsports? This is our focus and our direction. Is we're gonna hone in right here at NMCA. We're gonna work to win a world championship, or is there something else out there with the 49 Merc that you and your team want to try to accomplish?
Well, I mean, the Pro Mod thing. I've been in the automotive collision repair equipment business all my life. I mean, we're probably on our 28th year. And as the vehicles have changed and the market has changed, my business has had to change. And I'll be honest, the Pro Mod thing, once we'd been in it for a year, I decided we're going to have our own in-house engine program. And that's pretty much what's driving the Pro Mod side, is our engine shop and how much customer product we can get in and out of the door at the engine shop and give a customer what they're not getting elsewhere. Me and Joe Oplowski were talking the other day. My first electronic fuel injected car was like 16 years ago. We were on EFI 16 years ago and are still on it today. So it's about bringing some of the new stuff to the forefront and getting good with it and turning that into a customer base. So with the Mercury, it is going to give us a better shot at being at the front of the pack with the World Championship because of the technology from a 2006 car to a 2021. In the NMCA, the average Pro Mod is a 2017, and we're running a 2006. So by bringing it out as a 2021 car, we've now got all the technology that everybody else has got. That's going to bleed over into the ADRL because, it's a lighter car than the car that we've got today. It's going to bleed over into the Midwest Pro Mod stuff because we're going to be able to run faster because we've got a lighter vehicle available to us. The NHRA is really not on the radar. I have not run an NHRA race in probably 7 years, and I just really don't have a need or a want to go there. My marketing person, Debbie Shepard, that has been with me now for 2 years, she's going, if that's where you want to go. I said, it's not where I want to go. I don't want to use their demographics. It's an expensive country club to be involved in. And at NMCA, I'm a customer. At ADRL, I'm a customer. At Midwest Pro Mod, I'm a customer. And if you're not going to treat your customers as customers, then I just really rather stay where we are. But the biggest thing is growing that engine shop now to get where it's at. We've got some tractor pull customers that we've got involved. We've got a gentleman with nostalgia sports cars that he's bringing some import product into our facility. So we're pretty diverse either way that we want to go with it.
So going back to that, as you said, with the NMCA side, the ADRL side, Midwest Pro Mod, those are regional series, right? So, I mean, you're centrally located in the Midwest in Indianapolis. And when you start thinking about how far you travel and the expenses and the budgets, and we've talked about the fact we're not young, right? We've been doing this a while. At what point do you go, okay, it's all right, I'm going to continue doing this? Or, man, I need to go do something else because this is killing me. I mean, where was that in there? Did that drive come from somewhere in your family? Because we've all talked about the fact that we get motivated in motorsports typically by a loved one, someone that we looked up to, an aunt, an uncle, dad, grandfather, brother, whatever the case was. Did that come from somewhere else, or did you just slowly start to grow into it and go, okay, yeah, this is where I'm going?
Oh, my father run modified production for years, and he run that as long as he could afford. And at a point, he decided he couldn't afford it anymore and walked away from it. I have to tell you that, when you roll in there and you get your camp set up and you're, the fans are the fans are rolling in and looking at your t-shirts and want to be there and have questions, and you're putting kids in the car and moms are taking pictures. That's the payback on it. I mean, we've all been watching TV here the last day or two, and there's not very many of us very proud. But when you can take and a father comes up with two twins and they want to get in the car and they want the pictures taken, it makes it for a pretty good day.
Well, and I can totally get behind that and row the boat with you. It is about the other things that go on, right? And even, I mean, you can even draw a line to it and say, even when you are putting a young person in the car, having that conversation with dad and mom about getting their kids started in motorsports, and don't get overwhelmed by the size of all the equipment and everything that's sitting out here, and think about it from an expense standpoint. We're talking about competing at some of the top levels, and it's expensive. Well, I mean, we do it. It's drastically expensive, but at the foundation, like playing Little League, playing volleyball, playing soccer, there is a foundation in there that most people can work towards and be able to do with their family and teach life lessons and draw that straight line over into marketing and sales. And spending that extra time with those people at the event, it's gonna pay off at some point and something. They're gonna buy a product or mention you in word of mouth or whatever the case may be, and that is the payback, that you impacted somebody's life for that 90 to 4 or 5 minutes of that person, and it'll resonate for the rest of their life.
That it will. And, when you're looking at the sponsor side and the ROI, whatever that sponsor does for you, you've got to be able to calculate that, and you've got to be responsible for it and show that data and prove the data that, you do have value there in what you do. And, we've done it with a lot of our sponsorship program. We don't get any great big checks wrote to us, but the wisdom that I get from guys like Mark Menser or Darren Mayer or Joe Plowski or Michael Bunton or any of these guys that we associate with, Mark Mickey at M&M Transmission, that's expensive stuff. College is expensive, and right now we pay for our college every month, with the help that we hire to bring in and go. So it's an exciting one. There's a lot of venues where a 16-year-old kid can get involved with a daily driver, or a father or grandfather can get involved with their daily driver and race every week and race for a championship in most cases. So.
Well, couldn't agree more with that, and I hope that the people that are watching this that might be going, oh, okay, maybe I can do this with my son or daughter. I hope that they go out, they check out NMCA and the NMRA folks at Pro Media. I hope that they'll come out, they'll check out the schedule as you travel the country between NMCA, Midwest Pro Mod, ADRL. Tell everybody where to go follow you on social media so that they can come out there, check out the 49 Merc, and get a T-shirt.
Sure. You can find us on Facebook at Craig Sullivan Motorsports, and then CraigSullivanMotorsports.com is our website. You can purchase T-shirts there. We try to keep a schedule there and a summary or a recap of what we've done at the last race and what's going on. At Wild Irish Engine and Machine on Facebook, you can kind of see some of our customer base that we've got going on and some of the engines that we work on. We've had a straight eight. We've had a straight eight Oldsmobile in. We've had a 6-cylinder Hudson in out of a mini Sprint from 1948 or something. I mean, it's hard to fathom what can be brought into an engine shop when you live in the Indianapolis market, where there's just so many different types of racing going on.
Well, Craig, again, thank you for taking time out, stopping by, hanging out with us. Congratulations on this season that you had in 2020 with you and your team. I can only imagine what the 49 is going to look like when it rolls into testing. And I'm sure everybody will be clamoring on social media and door slammers, ready to see what it looks like. And I look forward to seeing you at the racetrack later on in 21.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your effort. And hopefully we'll see each other this year at the track.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. All right, this week in Drag Racing Show, we're going to dive right off. I mean, I guess we should close out the show with somebody that's listed as a 10-time champ, driving Mustangs all across this country, NMCA, NMRA, and I don't know, probably some of his competitors think that he's just flat out cheating because he owns the company that he runs the products for. So, I mean, if you ever got a question about wanting to go fast, you might want to tune in or reach out to our next guest. Our next guest, Hellion Turbo CEO, head bathroom cleaner, inventory clerk, flag carrying, and oh yeah, by the way, 10-time champ. John, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great, Don. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, absolutely. Really appreciate you taking time out. As everybody is getting that spool up mode of 2021 to get ready to go racing again. I guess I'm kind of concerned of how does somebody that's got 10 championships get motivated for the next season to chase number 11?
Actually, what we do is we like to keep modernizing the car. We like to stay cutting edge. The Turn 14 sponsored 2015 Mustang that I race now, we actually converted to direct injection. So it's gasoline direct injection, which has really never been done before at this power level. And so keeping this thing as a rolling science project, we made the change, and working with Uwe Osman and Bosch Motorsport, we've been able to have an ECU and fueling of the billet MMR Coyote engine. So we make a little bit over 2,000 horsepower, and we get to fuel it with a modern electronics, just like a new 2020 Mustang if you went and bought one today.
So, I mean, cutting edge technology, buzzword, right? Direct injection, another buzzword. Modern technology in a Ford Mustang. All of those things apply, right? And for our show and our audience that we're trying to reach out to, this sounds like things that, I could go pick up a car at a dealership and roll out to an NMRA event and just enter and try to learn how to start drag racing. And I'm going to have some of the same technology that you're dealing with out there in your company.
Absolutely. So what's great about events like this, you can have a off the showroom floor 2020 Mustang. You can show up at a race and you can enter what we call, there's like a true street class. So you do a 30-mile drive to show that the car's roadworthy. And then you make 3 back-to-back passes, and then they average your time and give out trophies at the end. So you can start racing with the car you showed up with. That's an entry-level class. And then as the horsepower increases and you want to go faster and faster, you can enter higher level classes. But we race in the fastest class, which is Street Outlaw. I use the same technology, same engine architecture as that true street car. So with a turbocharger and chassis work and et cetera, we've built up to the same thing. But you can start from that low level and take it all the way to the top, depending on budget and time.
So, I mean, we're basically getting back to the modern era of muscle car, right? In the garage. And now instead of us putting Pinto A-arms underneath the front end with coilovers and stuff, now we're just basically bolting and removing subframe suspension in the front end, rear end suspensions, bolting on turbos, bigger turbos, better ECUs, better injectors. I mean, we're just picking up the phone, calling, and bolting on horsepower.
Absolutely. I mean, all the OEs have done such a great job of bringing the muscle car wars back and designing a great platform to start with. So when I started racing, these engines were not as advanced or as strong. So peak power, if we made 600 horsepower, we were king of the hill. With our systems now, the twin turbo kits that we make, we've got guys making over 1,000 with stock engines. And then with built engines, getting close to the 1,500 to 2,000 horse range. So with that technology given to us to begin with, it's easy to make those changes. And then with a turbocharger, you can adjust the boost. So what if you want to put it down to 3 pounds of boost and drive to New York from California? You can do so. Or you could stop at the drag strip, turn the boost up, enter these classes, go real fast, turn it down when you leave. I mean, the world's wide open. It's the greatest time to be racing, to be buying these cars. And we want to see people out there getting a taste of it, because once they get in, they'll never get out. They'll love it.
Well, and that, I guess, kind of runs in the family, because your wife drives as well, right? 160 miles an hour?
She does. She's got a orange 2015 Mustang that we have our system on that's modified with the proper safety equipment. But she's been into the 8s at over 160 in a car that you could take to the supermarket every day. That's the reality of where we are. And so it's pretty amazing.
So how does that work in the household when we started that? Is that something where she said, hey, look, I'm done with you having all the fun. I need to be involved here, and you just stand there on the starting line and let her do her thing?
Well, she comes from a racing family, so she's no stranger to speed, and her family's been racing longer than I have. And we met at PRI at a racing event. And when we started developing these kits and cars, she basically said, okay, I've been supporting you. It's time for me to have some fun and go fast. And she's one hell of a racer. I mean, she can drive, she can cut a light. We have the practice tree, and most of the time she'll get me on the practice tree, and she tells me that that's not a mistake. So she's all in. She's amazing.
Well, again, that's part of the reason for our show, of sending that message out there to husbands and wives and fathers and daughters and sons. Most people just don't grasp that drag racing is truly a family environment and sport, the passion, making memories together, achieving small victories, right? Small goals, and making them successes. It's funny that you mentioned PRI and meeting your wife. It's It's where my wife and I got married at. So there's something about women that are involved in motorsports. And I mean, when you meet your significant other at PRI and you can marry your significant other at PRI, that kind of puts them in a unique grouping, if you will. So moving forward into 2021, you've got yourself, your company, your car in the Street Outlaw class, and you have your wife and her competitiveness that she's competing in. So how do you juggle and manage what your continuing progression is, right? I mean, everybody ends a year and they take a little bit of time and they evaluate and say, okay, this is what we need to do to be a little better next year, or to pick up the performance or improve our chances of winning, regardless of what level it may be, from foot brake all the way to Pro Mod. How is it that it works for your guys' operation? Because you have two obviously different cars of competition, but similar in componentry that go along with it.
So typically what we do, we've got a couple of different, we've got a few different, because we try to, with those two cars, with my car and let's say my wife's car, we'll hit different events in our setup. So basically we'll put, our car will attend X275 races, will attend outlaw drag races, NMRA, NMCA, prep track races. And hers is more street car. So let's say a street car takeover or an all-out call-out type event, and try to spread, show different groups of folks, because they may not, cohabitate with the same type of racing. So we try to touch on both. So setting up the schedule is definitely difficult with work. And then, with school, with my daughter, my 8-year-old, we've learned to multitask. That's for sure.
Well, you send one rig this way, send the other rig that way, and we'll meet in the middle somewhere. Well, I think from the standpoint of how society's evolved, right? Let's just say in the mass media world of quote unquote street outlaws on TV and Discovery Channel and all of the other outlets, if you will, where these mass productions, right, produced shows, edited, put together, are out there for people to consume in 30 minutes or 60 minutes, and they get the mindset that they want to get involved in the sport. They're trying to do something with that, and a lot of people think that it's really easy, right? Because we make it look easy on TV. How has the Street Outlaw next generation of consumer impacted what it is that you and your turbo company do moving forward, as we've obviously progressed going into a decade now with Street Outlaws? How has that progressed, and how have you tried to stay up with being able to mentor some of your customer base?
I think it's great. So I'm sure that everybody has a different take on the different types of racing. It's just like music types, right? Like we all don't like the same music, or we like a little bit of this or a little bit of that. So some folks may or may not gravitate towards the Street Outlaw, and it brings in it compared to, let's say, a Pro Mod or an original nostalgic style of racing, and it may be different, or and it's not in the same venues that we see. I think it's all good, and I know a lot of those guys that I've known them for years, are my friends. They're super talented, and I support them 100%, because I think it's great that Discovery is committed to reaching out and showing people what this is. Because we know, you get into it, how much fun it is and how amazing it is, and it's not easy to start with, at least for the perception of it. And so if they can get engaged and want to bring a car out and start at any level, just competition with mechanics. It's not a video game. This is actual mechanics. You got to use your hands, use your eyes, use everything, right? And you can get them involved. I think everybody wins. So I think it's great. It's like different classes, just a different type of racing. And we love watching it and seeing it. And then there's prep and there's no prep. What the type of racing we do, we race on the ultimate prep. You can't even walk on the track that we race on. And then there's no prep, which is obviously going the other direction, to each his own, but that's okay. That's okay. There's plenty of cars, there's plenty of time, and there's plenty of people to compete against right now, because it's so popular.
Well, we all can't fit on a golf course and play. We all can't go fishing. So, I mean, we need to have different levels of people in the world of motorsports, especially in drag racing, because it is such a diverse and broad category, right? Drag racing is completely different from the world of, say, World of Outlaws or mini sprints, 410s, wing, non-wing. There's so many other classes that are in there in the dirt track world that even with drag racing, we still have more classes and opportunity. And if you even want to say financial commitment of what it needs to take to be able to compete, it's huge. And so I couldn't agree with you more in being able to just reach out and touch just one. If we get one new person that wants to buy a product, go fast, show up at the racetrack, learn how to hit the tree, learn where the finish line is, and learn the blocks as they go down the racetrack, that whole learning curve, I think it's awesome, and I think it's only going to make our sport better across the board, regardless of what regional series anyone is competing in at any class level. It's only going to make our sport better.
Well, I try to tell folks if they've never drag raced, and they'll ask me what it's like, and I said, have you been on a roller coaster? Oh yeah, of course I've been on a roller coaster. I said, that first drop of the roller coaster?
Right.
I said, that's drag racing. I said, the rest of it, it's not the same. That's not really drag racing. That's other sports and other racing. I said, but that first drop is drag racing. So if it intrigues you enough to do it yourself, it's the only difference is it's your car on your.
Well, that's a very good comparison, because you could look at it from the standpoint of saying that first drop, right, is awesome. All that time waiting in line to get to the first drop, that's drag racing. That is the pits, the work, the weekly work, the trip to the racetrack, the trip home after you tear something up or lose first round or don't qualify, whatever the case may be. The standing in a line, that's the other part of drag racing. So John, let everybody know where you're going, where they can find you, reach out to you, follow you as we go into 2021 with you and your wife chasing win lights with 2 different cars across the country.
Yeah, so right now the schedule was released, and we're taking a look at it. With the current times and everything that's going on, anything can change. But as of right now, we're looking at we'll start the year in South Georgia at the Duck X race for X275. We will continue with the NMRA series, which goes all over the country from Bradenton, Georgia, up through the Midwest, and then finally ends up in Bowling Green, Kentucky is the NMRA schedule. And then mixed in there are some amazing heads-up races. There's a Sweet 16 race that'll be online that Donald puts on that we would like to go to. And it's pretty amazing. We've got a lot of things on the schedule. And the other thing with drag racing, the races can come and go, and the schedule can change. And so there's a little mysteriousness to it. So I could love to tell you that, hey, on this date we'll be here, but you never know with weather, with who knows what's going on in the atmosphere. That could all change. So, if it does, we'll be there and we could surprise you. And but if you're in the area and you see that we're going to be there, it's worth coming to, because if you've never seen cars like we have, something that looks like a car you could rent, a car you could buy, but goes 174 miles an hour by half track. So it's pretty amazing to see. We're pretty excited about pushing it. It's been our life for a long time, and we appreciate all of our fans and everybody to watch the Turn 14 Mustang turn on the win light.
Well, John, thank you for your time, and I'm sure everyone will be following you on social media, looking for you and your wife, because anytime you put a husband and wife team together and it's a female, she's over there driving, that always piques the interest, and that's always that extra draw. Everybody expects us to be racers because we're men. It's really cool when we have the females that are in there, especially when it's a husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, anything along those lines. So I'm sure you'll get plenty of attention for you and your wife across the country. We really appreciate you taking time out to join us this week on the show.
You bet, Don. Anytime.
Thank you. Thank you. As we close the show for this week in drag racing, being a new show is never easy. Putting everything together from start to finish. It's like building a race car or building a race team. Everybody thinks on the surface, I can do that. I want to let you know that it's not that easy. However, we're going to keep doing it because I hope that you enjoyed the people that we interviewed this week and you got something from them and you felt the passion and desire that they tried to communicate to you about why they do it and why their families did it before them. And that's what I want you to feel through the camera and think about what you're going to do with your loved ones, your son or daughter as they grow up, wherever the case may be. Or maybe it's you and you've got a Mustang or a Camaro or a Challenger and you want to get to the racetrack. There is some place for you to race. Come be part of our world of motorsports. All you got to do is get off the couch and do it. We'll see you next week.